So, Atif, as a former professional player, you will know better than anyone that when you become a competitive player, then inevitably there will be times when you're going to face pressure. And also, I think more importantly, is that there are going to be times when you face failure. Now, cricket, like no other sport, is both an individual sport and a team sport. So they are big situations. Can you explain what your experience is of those situations and how, when you look back now, what you do differently to actually address them?
Hello, Simon. Thank you very much for raising this point because I wanted to talk about this point before moving on. And the thing is, cricket is one of those games which is individual as well as team sport as well. And when we start playing cricket from a young age, we love to be out there, we love to perform, we love to play the game, and we just do that for the love of the game. When we start playing professionally or compact level cricket, we are judged by our performances. So we are judged by our runs, our wickets, winning or losing, and a lot of times, like you're under a lot of pressure of performance basically, and performance means is like to get runs, to take wickets. So subjectively, even if you're doing everything perfectly and you're still not performing, you're still classed as a failure. So you're always under pressure to perform, to good, and perform. So a lot of times, young players when they when they perform at the beginning, they keep playing cricket, but 9 out of 10 times you have to come up with failures as well. And for me, that is the most important stage in cricket when you address those failures and then learn from it and move to the next point. So when we talk about failures and addressing failures, we always talk about how to remember that why you started playing cricket at the beginning. So if you always have that in your mind that I started playing cricket because I loved the game and it wasn't just because of that I was performing or getting paid for it, then you can always have the excitement that I still love the game. Because there's a lot of times in the middle you lose that interest of the game because you're only solely playing for the money or for the rewards. And when you think about that, you always get the excitement that, oh, I love the game, that's why I still want to play. So what I do differently now is like I'm 42 years old. I still play good level cricket, and I'm performing quite well as well on good level basically. And I still think like if I play competitive level cricket, I can still perform on that. And the thing I'm doing differently is like I'm always remembering myself that I love the game. And when I'm going to play on Saturday, is because I want to play on Saturday. Is because it's going to take me away from all the stresses of life, of practical life. I can have my space, I can perform, I can feel good, and I can be successful. And because of all these thoughts, my success rate is really good. And even if I'm not performing, I'm still loving it because this is my time, my happiness, my enjoyable time. And even if I'm not performing, I can still address that issue that I'm not performing and come back from it and learn from it and go and play the next match.
Yeah, perfect. So essentially, really, is that a lot of it's basically down to focus. So where's your focus? Where's your attention going? Is it on the possibility of failure, or is it the reason you picked a bat and ball up in the first place? So I think you're absolutely right. Is that we've got to love what we do. Nothing worse than turning up for a competitive environment or competitive situation and dreading it for whatever reason. Do you think that there's ways of kind of processing that in some way? So in other words, that when the pressure hits, and you said about enjoying the game, what do you think about? Do you think about, where you wanted to go in the game, or is it purely the fact that you just love that ability to just to bat, just to bowl, just to build, to field rather, to be part of the team? What was it, do you think, that kind of created that passion and that love for you of the game?
So basically, when you start playing good level cricket, or when you start playing cricket and get recognized to be as a cricketer, you just enjoy your game. So you just want to bat or bowl or enjoy that feeling. So you don't think about the next team or the next players or what other team is doing good or what other team is doing bad. But when you play competitive level cricket, because of like so many things and so many technicalities, you always have to think about the other teams and other players and what other teams are doing good or doing bad. And it puts a lot of anxiety and pressure on you. And rather than like thinking about just your game, you start thinking about so many other factors as well. So I think what I do differently now, or what I would say is like a lot of good players they do and nowadays is like they only concentrate on their game rather than like think about social media or what media is saying or other people are saying, and it gives them more concentration, more focus on the things they want to do and what they have to play the role in the team. Because for example, like if you're batting number 5, you should know what your role is, and once you know what your role is, that it makes life much easier for you, because rather than just think about the whole picture, which is going to give you a lot of anxiety, you can just think about your role and what you need to do about it, or when you go in that situation, what was expected from you. And when you only think that, then it makes life much easier for you and gives you less anxiety.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, because anxiety is generally based on something which has happened in the past, or the perception of something that you think might happen in the future. But when you can stay in the now, you're absolutely right to put the result to one side and a bit of focus purely and simply just on your performance, on the love of the game. Why did you pick that bat up in the first place, and recreate that wherever you are. That's something that I think a lot of people are told that some people can do it and some people can't. But as people will find out during the course, that is something each and every one of us, every single person that's watching this right now, can adopt those skills, and we will go into great depths as to how to achieve that. Fantastic, Asid. That was brilliant.
And I just want to add one more thing, Simon, that whenever, especially whenever we going through a bad situation, bad form in cricket, we always tend to think about negative things. The negative thing means is like, our bat is not coming down straight, or my body language is bad, technique is bad, and all those kind of things. So you go into that negative frame of mind, negative spiral, that you only think about negative things. But what I've realized is like, if you only think about the positive things, which is like, according to studies, there's like 80% negative, positive things in your mind and only 20% negative things. But because of the human nature, we tend to think about the negative things more. But if you just train your mind to only think about the positive things, then life becomes much easier for you. And even in the bad situations, you tend to find things which makes you happy rather than sad. So, I mean, even if you get a duck in the game, which is a bad thing, you get a duck, but you can still find like good moments in the match where you can enjoy. For example, sharing a joke with the team, or coming up with a match-winning strategy or idea, so you can still win the game. So I would suggest, like, just think about this positive. Just think about coming up with something which is a positive thing, and just leave the negatives on the side, and you again, like, you can always bring yourself back in that positive state of mind where the performance happens, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a great point. And a lot of people will be thinking, okay, well, how on earth do you do that? How do you go away from that negative mindset to the positive mindset? Do not worry. We will go into great depth to achieve that. And actually, the same you and I were discussing earlier, which was that there will be many, many players who will actually get into these very, very anxious situations and quit the game. I mean, how disastrous talent is being lost by people who just don't understand these, the way that we can change our mindset and actually have false belief that they just haven't got what it takes and will quit the game. If you're one of those people, please, please, please listen very, very carefully. Watch this program many times. Adopt the mindset that we are going to teach you, because it will literally change your life.
One more thing is, like, because I'm from Asia, so we have the mindset back home that you need to have strong willpower. You need to keep going. Doesn't matter, like, if you like the situation or not, you have to keep going. And then when I came to UK, the mindset here was like, okay, you do your best, but if it doesn't happen for you, then you quit and start doing something else. So that is like both extremes, spectrums basically. So you need to find the perfect balance, which is like, you try your best, but you don't quit. So if it happens, good. If it doesn't happen, you still keep going. So in this program, these are the kind of like videos we'll be making for our followers, that you need to find the perfect balance and enjoy every bit of it. Because if you told yourself that this is the purpose of life, that you want to be a cricketer, then we don't want you to quit, because that is the best thing which is going to happen to you, isn't it? Because I've seen so many players that they quit the game, but then after 10 years they realize, oh, even if they're quite wealthy, they have good jobs, but they still want to play cricket, or they wish they could still play first class cricket or international level cricket. So we really want you to, like, utilize your time properly, utilize your purpose properly, and only quit if you think you cannot do that any much. But the thing with cricket is, like, it takes a bit of time, but when you start giving it rewards, you'll be amazed, like, how quickly you can become famous and become good cricketers. So you just have to keep going. And in these programs, these are the kind of like tips and mindset we'll be talking about, which is going to make every situation much easier for you.
Yeah. And there's one last point I was going to add, which was that I always ask people, whatever training session I'm taking, is that, have you always achieved your goals? And if they say yes, then I suggest that actually their goals aren't big enough. Because if you are seamlessly achieving, then I would said you need to set your standards or your goals much higher. Because the bigger the goal, the bigger the obstacle. So when you've got really big obstacles and it is tough, you've got a goal well worth working for. So yeah, perfect. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Simon.